Are you ready? Yo, 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 phone shizzle and so forth, it's time for another edition of Rap in the Forums. Taking its amazing plundered loot from Captain Dan. That's Captain Dan. MySpace.com/Captain Dan. He has the plan. Okay. This thread's called Nerf Warden. It's by a very knowledgeable Druid. It's pretty in, but let's see how far I can get through before collapsing in a heap. It's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Waffle WTF, have you done to my weapon, please? Come on, get serious. Even the level 60 PvP weapons and the blue level 70 GM mace is better now. FFS, get a group and pack all this crap. Be nerfing in. You mean the fix for the bugged in DPS, the DPS that failed to take into account the plus FFP, the one there's always the thread about. Not bothered about the other thread, but OMG, I wish I kept unstoppable for. Lol, that would be better now. Is it April Fool's Day? Cause I ain't getting it lol size. Some druids are just sad. I bet you one of the sparrows with Crusader on their weapon. Hey, stupid head, go check armory, you now be gone. You're a druid whining about nerfing DPS of a druid weapon, and you call me nap and stupid head. How incredibly ironic is that? I hope you will understand someday. Yawn, you are so good for insomnia. Keep it up, you might get best night's sleep forever. And go check pre-TBC stats of Earth Warden. I compared it to, say, the GM Blue Mace. Then recompare, then SCFU, and you know why I'm moaning. Okay, stupid head, bye-bye now, yawn. Why us? People losing thoughts about this. It's a feral weapon-based DPS doesn't count it, folks. This is a joke, right. Weapon DPS does not matter. For druids, moonkins benefit from it, I believe. Hence they benefited from the incorrect weapon DPS on Earth Warden. However, it was obviously a mistake, so there shouldn't really be cries of nerf. 054.7, say what? 54 points in feral, and the one talent you don't max out is feral instinct, and then you take 2 out of 5 furrow and 5 out of 5 in Muck of the Wild for those 7 points in resto. Post edited by Zathra. Shut the F up. Right back at your number. Interesting spec, I suppose. It's one way to make sure you don't miss any important talent. And the fellas, smiley face the same about the OOC, though. Not even gonna try explaining my build to you because you wouldn't understand. Now say what? No, you're both right. I wouldn't understand. Why the hell would someone take all of the feral talents except for the one that you want for both tagging and PvP, and then not take furrow, which is the most important talent outside feral trees for ferals? Only then he didn't take feral instinct. No one would understand your rather extremely silly build, or your lack of knowledge about how feral damage is calculated. That spec wins the internet. I should have looked at it before posting. I fully support the right for anyone to spec how they like, but the best I can say about that spec is put down the crack pipe and move away from the drugs. Move on to the second page. Objection! The DPS of your weapon does not affect your damage in cat or bear shape. Learn to play /flip. 2 points in furrow is enough for PvE to charge and start to gain aggro. Or what should I say? It's also enough for PvP to charge for Leviathan and then pop into cap, but that's PvP. So go judge someone else. I know full well what my build. Table off and the reasons why. TY ... The O is about the Earth Warden. Don't knock it till you try it. Don't be afraid to experiment. You might like it. Post edited by Galadriel. No, 2 points in furrow is enough for PvE to have a 40% chance of charging and to start gaining aggro ... It's also enough for PvP to have a 40% chance of being able to charge dash stun and a 40% chance to be able to do something when you pop in the cat form ... Oh, we're talking about the Earth Warden. Okay, Earth Warden is a feral weapon, and feral forms don't look at normal weapon DPS, so it doesn't freaking matter. What the hell happened to it? Weapon-based damage does not affect you in forms. The nerf is a correction. That is all it does to me, you clown. I spent effing hours grinding for it, nub. The nerf does not affect you at all. You can't even view it as a nerf, as it's just about correction, whatever. It's still a nerf. Definition of a nerf in the context of computer games, a nerf is a change to the rules of the game that is generally considered to have a weakening or negative effect on the affected objects. The term nerf, originating from the devs of Ultima Online, relates to have nerf toys for children use safe, soft, foam and plastic. to mimic sports balls and guns. It's not considered to have a negative or weakening impact as it doesn't affect you, so by your own definition, it's not a nerf. If you do consider it to have a negative or weakening impact, I suggest you read upon the most basic of the Druid mechanics in it. There's also no negative or weakening impact on the weapon itself, as nobody will have used it for its melee DPS, so its use remains unaffected. Post-edit blue bugs after. OMG, WJFBBQ, you guys crack me up, learn your class.
Help, help, I'm being repressed!
Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuning to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit, and yes, I did have a Warlock cast an ending breath on me for that one. I'm glad you liked that one. We actually have some guys from Captain Dan listening in right now, so a big shout out to them and hope I didn't completely murder your sample. MySpace.com/Captain Dan, folks. Captain Dan is the win, and we're giving away CDs live on the show today. Just give us your best pirate impression and email it to themurloc@gmail.com. That's themurloc@gmail.com. Record it for us. You have 1 week starting from today to do so. Oh, yes. Winners will be announced on next week's show. Oh, that was exhilarating. Let's get on with this. Let's see what we got. Now, I put this out for you. I put this theory out for you that the reason there is such a difficulty disparity right now is that Blizzard has completely abandoned Legacy Raid content. Okay? And I've had loads of people email in for this. Absolutely loads. I want to read some out before I go on with my possible solution. Oh, yes. One from Letter Messiah. This is, I think content isn't too hard, it just takes some getting used to. People who used to run UBRS and MC are getting owned, when people with more raid experiences will have the overall advantage. It's true, but then again, where's the bridge? Where is the bridge? Where is the bridge? How can we have the trolls under the bridge if there is no bridge for the trolls to be under? It's unacceptable. Yes. Okay, here's some more. David Nolan, also called as Pew, from Doomhammer EU. In my opinion, this content isn't too difficult. The rewards aren't the greatest in terms of the new tiers. They need to be changed and buffed a bit, but the content is doable. Like you said, while I was writing this email, you have the guilds like D&T and Nihilum and stuff burning through the content, but they are going for world first and the like, and use all the consumables needed for this. This causes people to go, oh my god, it's too difficult, we need pots. That's not true. My guild has only started doing Karazhan, and we haven't been requiring pots to get through the content, apart from the odd titans when the tank himself feels it's necessary. The DPS and whatnot can do, if they like, increase their DPS through pots to help the raid, but we're doing it fine at the moment, without huge numbers of consumables. I'd agree to some degree there, has to be said. There are a few problems as regards to Karazhan, the fact that the first few bosses might be a bit too easy, and then after that it just gets ridiculous. May I cite as my example, Illhoof. Good lord. Right, more stuff. Good lord, that's a long one from Illurian. Illurian personally likes the difficulty of the heroic instances and that they added new abilities to the boss, which is a good thing. And he says this, I am my guild's third tank, and with my current tank gear I can tank the first 3 to 4 bosses of Karazhan without breaking a sweat. And to be honest, standard 5-man instances are a complete bore to me because it's simply not a challenge. Being prospect with 500 defense and 11k unbuffed, the simple fact is that I can play as sloppily as I want in basic 5-mans, and I can be pretty sure that the healer isn't going to have to break a sweat to keep me alive. I like that in instances I have to be on my toes, playing well and doing my absolute best to maintain aggro on multiple mobs. It provides a good, involving challenge for me, and it's the only thing I've found since Burning Crusade came out that gives me the real feeling of satisfaction when I down a boss, similar to when I was leading my former guild through 40-man raids in the day. I think that if there was a way you could set instances like Molten Core to be a 10-player limit and make them drop the badges of justices from the boss, people would be more interested in going to them to learn the basics of raiding. Ah, a cunning stunt. Now, you see, Illurian is kind of onto what I was going to suggest, but I'll go on to that in just a moment. I'll continue his email. Because there are people in my current guild who haven't raided before, I attempted to get some basic Onyxia Molten Core runs organised so people would learn the basics. The problem is that none of my guildies are interested. They'd rather be doing quest chains in Shadow Moon Valley to get their level 70 items. And can you really blame them? Can you really blame them for that? I mean, we've only been into a Legacy raid instance once, and that's because we were bored and decided we'd 5-man Bloodlord Mandakir, then tried to 5-man Jindo the Hexer and failed miserably. It was pretty horrible. What can I say? But yeah, interesting stuff. Now, one from Panacea, who's actually the main tank of my guild. And it says there's a very easy answer to all of this. Karazhan is classed as a 10-man epic raid instance, emphasis on the epic. Now, to prepare people for this environment, there should be a 10-man raid instance, a relatively hard instance that requires team communication and for someone to take leadership, with, of course, pre-Karazhan loot. So it trains people for Karazhan. But there's also some cons to this. You'll still get pugs attempting to do it, which is no good, as they'll never work as a team. It's rare to get a pug to go on vent, or listen, and sometimes take leadership, so Blizzard would somehow have to implement it so that it's not too hard for a pug, but hard enough for guild groups to do it together. Well, to be honest, I have no sympathy for pugs. Absolutely no sympathy for pugs whatsoever. When Zul'Gurub came in, I was hoping for something that was too difficult for pugs to do, at least on a normal realm. Yeah? Of course, if you're going to pug with people who've been into Nax, you know, that's not too difficult. That's not really a pug as such. You're looking at people who are pre-raid, yeah? I mean, what he's trying to kind of get out there is that they need something like UBRS. UBRS back in the day, when UBRS was actually difficult. You know, 15-man UBRS, difficult, teaches you some raid principles, but not all. He's looking for something like that, I feel. But obviously it's got to be remodeled and brought forward as something which is actually relevant to today's content, not the content 2 years ago. Not a good thing. But yeah, I do understand. I do actually understand his particular point there. Now I'm going to read one more email, and then I'm going to come up. Absolutely come up with my idea for fixing all of this that will get ignored and not be implemented at all. I'll be willing to put money on that. I will in fact put £5 right now that this idea is not going to get implemented, despite the fact that as far as I'm concerned it's a good one. Now I'm going to read one more email first. This is from Heath. He says, I think what Blizzard is saying with 5-mans and heroic 5-mans is that being a raider is not about being in a big group. It's just a level of play. I was in a strong 40-man guild, AQ40, blah blah. I was so cool, but yeah, now only about 20 of our 40 can do heroics. What does that say? And only 10 of our 40 are at a level I would want to take into Karazhan with me. It tells me that 20 of my guild mates were not at raider quality in the first place. And it's something I've been seen slipping past for over a year. 70 is a wake-up call. You can't fall back on gear, you can't fall back on a guild tag, and most of all, you can't fall back on other players. Will it keep people playing at level 70 and keeping accounts active? If they're not playing at that level, probably not. A lot of my guild mates that used to be hardcore have turned casual with Burning Crusade because, frankly, it does seem that they don't play at the heroic/raiding level and are not going to bother putting in the hours. I'd rather this than having them fill my gruel runs. I'm happy with the 70 filter, as he's calling it. That's a very interesting way of putting it, the 70 filter. It keeps the people who should be raiding, even if they don't come from a raiding background, and keep the casuals in the right content. That's a really good email. I'm actually really intrigued by that idea that this is a 70 filter and that it's kind of separating the men from the boys, as it were. Interesting view. I don't agree with it fully, but I do agree with quite a lot of it. That is a very interesting way of looking at things that, as you're probably well aware, at least in Molten Core and Blackwing Lair, you can have fluff in your raid. I don't believe you can have it at Cthulhu, because fluff in your raid getting killed means not enough DPS means you wipe good game. You don't want that to happen. It's the same with the harder encounters in Nax. You just don't have people dying. It's not a good idea. And if they're fluff and they get themselves killed, then more likely they're going to get other people killed as well. Again, not a good idea. Now, it has to be said, though, that if you've got fluff at AQ Nax level, I wonder how the hell you even got anywhere. Because you really need your focused raiders there. But I can see his point. I can definitely see his point that a 40-man raid gives more scope for slacking. You can get away with it, because you are only a cog in the machine, less so than you are in a 10-man, and certainly less so than you are in a 5-man, where you are, of course, required to play at your best if you're playing something that's difficult, i.e. a heroic. Now, as I throw this roll of package tape up in the air for no apparent reason in front of the microphone, I'd like to introduce my idea. Now, if Blizzard were to fix it, this is what I would do. If they were to fix it, I would take the old content. So we're looking at Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Anchorage, and Naxxramas, and retune. Now, what do I mean by retune? Allurian suggested it earlier, with the 10-man Molten Core idea. That's a very interesting way of looking at things. That is a possibility. 10-man Molten Core. We know it can be done, but we know it's relatively difficult. As in, it requires a coordinated raid group to do it. Now, if you were to put a 10-man cap on Molten Core, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I'd put a 15-man cap on Molten Core. At least at level 70. And say, right, okay, you've got to have 15 men in here, and this is how many you've got to work with. And why would anyone go in there, you might ask? There's no reason whatsoever. Badge of Justice is a good idea. I like that. Badge of Justice. How about a little bit of retune loot? Maybe some different gems, some different patterns, a few pieces of epic gear. Retune some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. Here's another idea. Try making Tier 1 BOE. There's an idea for you, eh? Tier 1 BOE. So you can go in there, pick up all of this stuff, and take it out. Everything's now BOE. Stick it on the auction house, or give it to guildies that are level 60 that might actually have a use for the bloody stuff. There's an idea. Try that. Now, go on. Blackwing Lair. Maybe 20, 25 man. I don't know how many it would actually take to take Blackwing Lair. Again, retune. Retune your loot. Not so much required for that. Make Blackwing Lair something that you can do at, say, level 60 to maybe 64, and maybe you want to do it at level 70, because maybe there are epic gems and that kind of thing. Now, take, say, Anchorage 40. Now, you can say, well, let's make AQ40 a 25 man. And then you'll look at it and say, well, you can't do that. Why? Because, of course, Prophet Scarum's going to kick your ass. Because you need 6 tanks. And you're not going to have 6 tanks necessarily in a 25-man raid. Okay, fair enough. Let's retune. Let's change the encounter. Let's make him only spawn 2 images. Yeah, you can have 4 tanks in a 25-man. Yeah? Okay. Let's take another example. What about Huhuran? Huhuran, as you're well aware, the Dirty 15. You need to have 15 players in front in nature-resistant gear in order to take down Huhuran. Because otherwise, the poison goes everywhere and kills everybody. Take it down to 8. Take the ratio down. The Dirty 8 are now in nature-resistant gear and everyone else is DPSing. You don't even need to retune half this stuff. You don't need to retune Cthulhu. Cthulhu's probably going to be easier with 25 people. This can be done. And you've also got to bear in mind that wasting all of this content is damn stupid. How long did you spend, Blizzard, coding all of this stuff? All of these wonderful encounters in Anchorage 40 and Blackwing Lair, in Naxxramas, and all these really horrible encounters in Molten Core? How long did it take you? What about the 20-mans as well, you know? All this content is right there, and you could recycle it. You could do it, and it would be really easy. You just have to do a little bit of retuning. Give people a reason to go in there again. Then you have your bridge. You have your bridge between Karazhan. People go into Karazhan and start wiping. Like, right, well, we're getting owned in Karazhan. Okay, well, let's go and do Blackwing Lair. Let's go and do AQ40 and let's learn some principles. AQ40 and Nax are probably the best place to learn these principles. We're looking at stuff like, say, Netherspite. Netherspite is a fight which involves movement and placement. Yeah? You've got 3 laser beam pew-pew things that are coming towards Netherspite, and you've got to get in the way of them. Otherwise, good game. You're out of it. Okay? That's a very interesting fight. Placement. What other fights require placement? Ooh, Cthulhu, for instance. Very big precision there involved. There are other fights that are a very good example of this that you simply cannot prepare yourself for beforehand. Fights which are not standard tank and spank. I mean, seriously, are you going to train yourself for Nightbane by doing a 5-man, or are you going to train for Nightbane by doing a really hard version of Onyxia, or even Sapphiron? Why not? Cut down a bit of the trash in Nax, cut down a bit of the trash in AQ40, make it doable in less amount of time. For God's sake, just recycle the instance and use content that's already within your game. Good lord, it's right there. You can retune it. You can add the loot which will encourage people to go in there. You can add epic crafting patterns, new gems, stuff that is going to interest people in getting back into these. And I would love to go back in there. I had some of my best times in those raid instances, and I would love to go back in there. I would like to actually get past the 6th boss of Nax. That would be nice. I'd like to go in there and experience some of the more interesting stuff. But I can't, because there's no reason, and you can't convince people to do it. And I don't blame people for not going in there, because, of course, there's no bloody reason. Absolutely no reason whatsoever to go in there. And I completely understand that. Absolutely, 110% I understand that. Why wouldn't I? Because I feel almost the same way. I really do. That is my suggestion, and that is going out to Blizzard themselves. If you have any comments on my suggestion, feel free to email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. I have some music for you before I come back with yet another topic of death. This is Axon Star. This is Blind Leading the Blind. Some metal for you. Enjoy.